serious? What are some of the creepiest declassified documents made available to the public? The Pentagon Papers. They were fairly creepy back when they came out. What are they about? The Pentagon orchestrated a lie of a false flag attack to justify getting into one of the deadliest foreign conflicts in American history. Operation Mockingbird. It was an operation to manipulate the media for propaganda purposes. But they ended it a long time ago. Honest. The JFK assassination documents never fully being released as they keep getting pushed back. The documents themselves are creepy in the sense of how contradicting they are. But what makes it truly creepy is the full release keeps getting pushed back. The WikiLeaks documents about Prism and about the smart device hacking methods along with how to set said devices into a false off mode. MKUltra. The CIA performing illegal experiments on Americans to try to develop mind control. There is a famous alien sighting history in a city called Varginha here in Brazil, and the city is mostly known for that particular incident in 1996. A couple of years ago, Brazil's National Archive made public documents that state UFO sightings from civilians and military that dates 25 years before the incident. Gay bomb. It was a weapon speculated by the USA in the 90s that, when dropped, would release pheromones which would make the enemy attracted to each other. Operation Unthinkable. The plan for the UK and us to launch a surprise attack against the USSR at the end of World War II. UK, us, and what was left of Wehrmacht. They literally planned to use just defeated Germans to get the numbers they needed. But keep in mind that the military often has multiple plans for things that are not even remotely likely to happen. So it's more of an analysis of what would happen if we did this than an actual operation plan. The creepiest fact is that even the most horrible declassified files are just small part of the documents that came to light. Too many facts went down the drain. Yes, the CIA has a heart attack gun. And that was revealed in 1975. Try to imagine what they have today, over 4 decades later. Anything involving Japan's Unit 731 during World War II. It was a military chemical and biological warfare division that experimented on prisoners of war. The bit that gets me about this is that they got away with it. The US have them immunity in return for their records. Operation Northwoods. Proposed false flag attacks against American civilians targets carried out by the CIA and blamed on Cuba in 1962. Thankfully JFK said duck no and shut that down. How America almost nuked itself in the 60s, but the bombs didn't go off. Lucky you, East Coast. Lucky you. How the government made it illegal to expose the government for the illegal things they have done. I think there was a lot of creepy things that came out when the East German Stasi files were released after the Berlin Wall fell. All citizens were allowed to view their own files and many were shocked to find out that their own relatives were informing on them, because they had no choice, and various other things. A good movie about this is called Other People's Lives. Edit, I got the name of the movie wrong. It's The Lives of Others. Memo from Roger Boisjoli on O-ring erosion. Months prior to the Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. He essentially predicted, and forewarned, that the rocket O-rings would fail if the shuttle launched in cold weather. Operation Lack biological warfare testing done on US cities. Principally, the operation involved spraying large areas with zinc cadmium sulfide, which is very toxic. Many who were affected died of cancer and the testing was never followed up on. Most of the neighborhood's genetic makeup was dug up for no reason and no apologies were made. The NSA and Catalog. It contains a list of capabilities which the NSA and other national security administrations have been in possession of, and use, for the purpose of cyber surveillance. The document was created in 2008 and was made public in 2013. The technology in this document is incredible, and terrifying for the idea of privacy. If you think they don't know everything, they do. These devices are everywhere, could be in any cable, any computer, any phone, any anything. The Tuskegee study of and treated syphilis in the African American community. The various times that Nixon almost drunkenly started a nuclear war, but Henry Kissinger refused to act until he was sober. This happened multiple times. We could have been fallout in real life. In late 2017, cables between the US Embassy in Jakarta and the State Department were declassified that casually tracked the massacres of the PKI that took place in Indonesia between 1965 and 1966. Other declassified documents also reveal that a US Embassy employee gave a list of suspected communists to the Indonesian army, and all 5,000 people on the list were rounded up and killed, with many tortured. In the end, between 500,000 and 3 million people were executed. The casual indifference to political genocide expressed by us government employees is chilling. How about the film Aurelian? There was this user on 4chan called UTV who frequented the sports page and made lots of posts. Just normal posts too, nothing controversial. Anyway, he had a stalker known as the Archiver who would follow and comment every single post of UTV. After a while UTV would get sick of these comments and he'd tell him to get lost, but the Archiver would just respond to them too. Eventually he started posting his own compilations of the interactions he had with UTV all over the sports page. His final post was him confessing that the people in his life found out about his obsession and he is now being monitored. But before he goes offline he wanted to share his film Aurelian, a 92-page document of everything he had ever made to do with UTV, and he requested that it be for UTV's eyes only. Of course that didn't stop people from opening it. Inside were post compilations of UTV's posts. Posts superimposed onto 3D models. Extensive poems and sonnets. A detailed description of how their life together would be, and how UTV's funeral would pan out. I'm pretty sure there were real life details about UTV in there as well. Upon release of the document, UTV's only response was question mark. And he contacted the police and went into hiding. There was a declassified Soviet program where the military tried to use rabbits to psychically communicate between submarines. It was based on the premise that a mother rabbit reacts strongly when one of its offspring is killed violently, even if the mother rabbit is miles or hundreds of miles away. The program involved keeping the mother rabbits at a land-based station and killing the baby rabbits in the submarine. Message content was determined by the frequency and the strength of the reaction from the mother rabbit, which was supposedly dependent on the violence of the death. The documents were declassified a while ago, but only translated in 2016. This FBI investigation file titled Animal Mutilation. Back in the 1970s-80s, the media's attention was drawn to some anomalies taking place not only on American cattle farms, but all over the world. Cow corpses were being discovered in fields, missing organs, with surgical holes in their sides, with no blood. For a brief time, this was passed off as a strange coincidence. But eventually, the public got so worked up that the FBI commissioned an investigation. 6 months and $45,000 later, they found nothing. Nothing. No trace of a person, machine, alien, anything. Everyone was left hanging, but strangely, it died down. The reports of animal mutilations have simply stacked up to since then, and to this day there have been excess of 10,000. Project Pluto is pretty horrific. The proposed use for nuclear-powered ramjets would be to power a cruise missile, called SLAM, for supersonic low-altitude missile. In order to reach ramjet speed, it would be launched from the ground by a cluster of conventional rocket boosters. Once it reached cruising altitude and was far away from populated areas, the nuclear reactor would be made critical. Since nuclear power gave it almost unlimited range, the missile could cruise in circles over the ocean until ordered down to the deck for its supersonic dash to targets in the Soviet Union. The SLAM, as proposed, would carry a payload of many nuclear weapons to be dropped on multiple targets, making the cruise missile into an unmanned bomber. After delivering all its warheads, the missile could then spend weeks flying over populated areas at low altitudes, causing tremendous ground damage with its shockwave and fallout. When it finally lost enough power to fly and crash landed, the engine would have a good chance of spewing deadly radiation for months to come. Source: Wikipedia. That's all for today's video. Hope you guys liked it. If you liked the video, subscribe. If you want to support the channel, the best thing you can do is simply watch the videos. But if you really want to see the channel thrive, subscribe, like, comment, add to favorites, add to playlist, and share with friends. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Reddit and Insta. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you with tomorrow's upload.